Folks, take a look at this gorgeous steak. This is a marinated steak. It's been marinating for 24 hours and then it was grilled up just right, and I have served that up with some beautiful potatoes poached in butter. Oh, wait till you try this one. This recipe is going to start with just a little bit of a backstory, so I want you to kind of bear with me for a moment while I kind of give you an understanding of where this recipe came from and why. When I was a boy, we would go out eating on pretty much a regular basis. My father took us out to different restaurants, and one of his favorite places to go was a steakhouse that was called Steak and Ale. Steak and Ale was a really nice place to go. It had a good atmosphere. The menu was fantastic. And one of the things that they had that I really remember, something that stood out in my mind, was a recipe that they called their Kensington Club. Now, Kensington Club was a really good idea, and a lot of restaurants do stuff like this. What they wanted to do, the Steak and Ale, or the company that owns Steak and Ale wanted to do, they wanted to take an inexpensive cut of meat, like sirloin, but be able to market it right next to things like a strip steak. In other words, similar price and much more profit. Because naturally sirloin can be purchased at a lot lower price than a strip steak can be. So what they wanted to do was to be able to produce something good that they could market that way, and they did. This recipe that I'm going to give you is not identical to theirs, but it is very, very similar in the flavor profiles. I'm going to show you a fantastic recipe that is going to give you a steak that is so sweet and succulent and delicious, it's unbelievable. Remember, the neat thing about a marinade, they can be very broad in their perspectives and in what they do to the meat. And this particular marinade gives you a subtle piece of meat that's very tender and has such interesting flavor characteristics. It's hard to describe it, but to say that your meat comes out delicious is probably the best way. What I'm going to show you here, this is the Kensington Club marinade recipe. Now, we take a look. I have a whole lineup of beautiful juices here. First, on the left in the back, I have a couple of cups right there. That's pineapple juice. Now, the pineapple juice, that's very important because it is very acidic and it has a lot of the flavor we're looking for in this dish. Now, a lot of people's recipes, when it comes to the Kensington Club, they use sugar in it. I didn't want to do that. I don't like sugar in my recipe, so I put this orange juice. We have 1 cup of orange juice added to this. Now, also right next to it over here, you'll notice this is sherry. Sherry is a fortified wine, and basically what that means is just a wine that's had something added to it after it has been produced. And sherry has a very unique flavor that lends itself well, very well, to this recipe. Now, down here we have some soy sauce, and I have some red wine vinegar, and I have some garlic powder. These are our ingredients, and we're going to mix that together and put it on some steaks. And I'm going to be using a beautiful strip steak for that. Actually, a couple of strip steaks. I want to invite a friend over, and we're going to have us a really good meal. Now, this is something that needs to marinate for a while. Your basic marinade on this needs to go about 24 hours. And when it's done that way, it's delicious. Let's get this thing mixed up. Now, folks, I need to get these ingredients mixed in something. I'm going to mix them in the same exact item that I'm going to put the meat in to marinate. So I have this dish right here to marinate my meat in. Pour all of the ingredients in here, whisk them together, get your meat in there. That's what it takes to do this right. There it is. It's just that easy. We've got everything all mixed together, and now we're going to put it in the fridge. Now, this is the important part. If you do this the right way, you're going to marinate that steak for at least 24 hours. If you're using a piece of sirloin that is, let's say you get select sirloin, I'm going to say, guys, go ahead and give it a 72-hour marinating. No longer than that. That's the longest you ever want to marinate any steak for. That's a 3-day marinade. Now, if you have a choice cut of sirloin, I'm going to say It's best to marinate this for about 48 hours. That way you get full penetration of the acids, and it's really going to break down the meat the right way and make it tender. If you do a one-day marinade on it, the meat may still have a little more firmness to it, a little more texture if it is a sirloin. If it is a strip steak, and let's say a choice cut, 24 hours is more than enough, or maybe even a little less. It's not going to take that long to tenderize that meat, and the flavor of the marinade penetrates pretty quick. It penetrates in easily one day. So on those other marinades, when you're leaving it in there longer, you're not making the marinade in the meat stronger per se. It's really just breaking down the meat connective tissue a little bit more. And that's the idea there. So all we do now is wait, and tomorrow I'm going to grill this up. It's going to be good. Well, it's the next day, and I'm out here playing with the camera and having fun with one of my new lenses, and this lens is really cool. I'm like literally about somewhere between 6 and 7 inches from the front of the lens, so close that it's hard for me to actually focus on it. So anyway, I'm getting ready to fix my steaks, but I wanted something to put with it, and it's going to be a neat potato dish. When I was a kid, once again this goes back to when, I remember on Sundays we would go to a buffet, and at this buffet they always had these most wonderful new potatoes that were just soaking in butter. And I remember that so well because the flavor was fantastic. And so I decided, you know, what the heck, I saw these little potatoes at the supermarket, and they were different colors, and I thought that's really neat looking. So I just grabbed them, and I decided I'm going to do butter poached potatoes. I want to put that with my steak. I just thought I'd throw this in there. So let's take a look at this. It's going to be a neat way to do some taters, and everybody needs a tater with their steak. This is a good way to do it. Let's take a look. So as you can see here, we have some beautiful potatoes. These are some red, and it looks like some white, and also some purple potatoes that make a wonderful combination for a dish like this. A lot of extra color. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook all that up with a bit of butter. Oh yeah. And of course, potatoes are always salt thirsty, so we're going to add a little extra salt to it. And believe it or not, we're going to use some MSG, or as folks are calling it these days, they're saying that's miwan or umami. Okay, so here we got our umami, and we're going to be adding that because that enhances potatoes, oh, like you just cannot imagine. I'm going to put a lid on this and get a low flame underneath it, and I want it to be very, very low. I just want to keep that butter at just barely the right temperature to keep it melted. So you'll know this was the lens I was using right there, guys. That is a Sigma 14mm. It's their latest, greatest little goodie, and it is a Jim Dandy. Okay, fantastic lens. I love it. Let's get on with this because that's what it's about. And the idea here, we just want, like I said, we want to get that butter up on the inside of the potato, and I didn't want all that skin blocking that. I wanted enough for 2 meals. I'm cooking 2 steaks, one for myself, one for a friend, and I need 2 servings of potatoes, and I think I'm very close to that right now. I have these all sliced up and in 1 cup of butter. So these are going to sit here and cook over a low heat, and I've also added a little extra salt, so there's about 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt in here in addition to some MSG. I added in about 1/4 of a teaspoon of MSG. Oh, and this is going to be special. So these only have to cook until they become tender, and that's when I can start pushing a fork into them and they feel tender enough to chew easily. That's when I'm ready to turn the heat off and let them rest as I heat my grill up. Now folks, my potatoes have finished cooking up, and I'm about to take the meat out of the marinade and dry it off and give it 20 minutes to come to room temperature. At the same time, I have my grill down there heating up. So it's preheating, and I'm doing this right now. So do the same thing. Season your meat before putting it on the grill. Now these are about to go on the grill because the grill's heated up. The taters are ready. I just got to get my steaks cooked, and this meal is finished with. This is as easy as salt and pepper, and put it on the grill. 4 minutes on each side with a medium to medium high temperature on that grill, and you're going to have a beautiful steak. Okay, I'm out here in a nice noisy location. Let's go ahead and get that meat. Alrighty, that's been 45 seconds. We have a nice sear on that. Now, let's get those cooked up. 4 minutes per side. Cook those for 4 minutes on that side. Give them a turn. Absolutely beautiful. Another 4 minutes and they are done. Now get ready to write this down because these are the quantities of these ingredients. It's 2 cups of pineapple juice, 1 cup orange juice, 1 cup dry sherry, 1/2 of a cup of soy sauce, 1/4 of a cup of red wine vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And that gives you a magnificent marinade that is memorable. Oh, now let's take a look at that steak. Now these have had a few minutes to rest, which is always the right thing to do on a fine cut of meat. And we're just going to give some slices here. I should have angled that first one. I'm going to angle the rest of them. Because when I cut a steak like this, I like to do it on the bias, just a little bit. How's that for beautiful? That's what we're looking for right there, ladies and gentlemen. Now I just need to get that plated up and ready to go. And there we have it. That is the way to do a Kensington Club. So you've seen it, and it's gorgeous, but is the flavor spot on where it should be? I'm going to take this little piece right at the end here. Right there at the end where it's just as beautiful and pink as the center. Spot on. That's the flavor. And butter poached potatoes. Oh. Folks, when you try this meal, there's no turning back. You're going to be hooked forever, and it's so delicious. So enjoy that marinade and that steak, and enjoy all of the wonderful lessons that came with this one, because it is a fantastic recipe that should be enjoyed. Please take a look at the channel, and thank you very much for watching. Please share this video. Folks, have a good day. Bye-bye.